For centuries, Paris was built to endure. Then, in just a few decades, it was built to impress. Kings, emperors and republics all sought to leave their mark, to inscribe their power in stone, in space, in perspective. At the end of the 19th century, this ambition shifted scale. With the Universal Exhibitions of 1889 and 1900, Paris no longer merely governed itself. It presented itself to the world. The Eiffel Tower rose. The Grand Palais and the Petit Palais opened their glass vaults. The Alexandre III Bridge linked the riverbanks like a manifesto. In a matter of decades, Paris added to its history monuments that would become inseparable from its image. From medieval vaults to the glass roofs of the Belle Époque, from the stone of Les Invalides to the iron structure of the Eiffel Tower, from the Paris of kings to the Paris of republics. Welcome to Monumental Paris. Our day begins here, on the Île de la Cité, at Notre-Dame Cathedral. Built between 1163 and 1345, it asserts the religious and political heart of the kingdom. If it has become iconic, it's also because of its pioneering role. Monumental rose windows, flying buttresses, a double ambulatory. Gothic architecture crosses a threshold here, but its fame goes beyond architecture. In 1804, Napoleon crowns himself emperor here. In 1831, Victor Hugo rescues it from oblivion by placing it at the heart of his novel. Disney turns it into the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Then, the fire of 2019 thrust it brutally back onto the international stage, reviving its iconic aura through an unprecedented wave of global emotion. In front of us stands the western facade. 3 sculpted portals, conceived as a Bible in stone for a population that was largely illiterate in the 13th century. Here, everything is read through images. But in this place, there is more than just the cathedral. Directly in front of us lies Point Zero of Francis Road, the reference point from which all distances from Paris are measured. Before becoming this marker, the site was used for public executions. A gallows stood here until the 18th century. In 1769, Louis XV officially designated it as the starting point of the kingdom's roads. The current plaque was installed in 1924. A discreet detail, almost invisible. On the parvis, the statue of Charlemagne recalls the Carolingian legacy associated with Notre-Dame. We cross the threshold. The nave opens before us. 130 meters long. 33 meters beneath the vaults. The pillars punctuate the space, naturally drawing the eye toward the choir. Light filters through the stained glass, sliding across the stone, tinting it. Along the sides, the chapels line up. More intimate spaces set back. Above the transept, the rose windows. The southern rose, 13 meters in diameter. A circle of ancient glass, miraculously spared by the fire. The choir comes into view, restored. Behind it, the Pietà by Nicolas Coustou, commissioned by Louis XIV. In places, the reconstruction is visible. New wood, clean stone. Notre-Dame is no longer quite the same. It's both old and new. The river banks open up before us. Along the parapet, the booksellers. These green boxes have been here since the 16th century. An image inseparable from the banks of Paris. Quai de Gesvres, Quai de la Mégisserie. In summer, this axis becomes Paris plage. Deck chairs, parasols, misting sprays. The city comes down to the water. We walk along the Seine, simply enjoying the space. We then leave the riverbanks to reach the Marché district. On the way, the Saint-Jacques Tower rises in the middle of the square that surrounds it. The last remaining vestige of the church of Saint-Jacques de la Boucherie, it recalls the medieval Paris that once occupied this area, long before the city took on its current organization. We also cross the Pompidou Center, an inverted structure with colored pipes. Just in front of it, the Stravinsky Fountain. A little further on, Rue de Bretagne, the Marché des Enfants Rouges, named after the red uniforms worn by the orphans who once lived here. The oldest covered market in Paris opened since 1615. Here, we encounter fewer tourists than Parisians doing their shopping. The neighborhood is alive. Rue Charlot, Rue de Poitou, Rue de Torigny. The atmosphere shifts. The facades tell of another era. 17th century private mansions, carriage gates, cobbled courtyards. Before Versailles, the Marais was the aristocratic quarter. Today, galleries, boutiques, and cafes have taken over. Then, the space opens up with the oldest square in Paris, Place des Vosges. Inaugurated in 1612 under Henry IV, it was then called Place Royale. A perfect square, 140 meters on each side, 36 identical bricks and stone pavilions, set on arcades. This is where French urban planning is born. A square that is conceived, drawn, ordered. At the center, a garden. Linden trees, benches. Parisians come here to read, have lunch, stretch out on the grass. Under the arcades, art galleries, cafes, discreet shop fronts. At number 6, Victor Hugo's house, where he lived for 16 years. We walk around the square. The noise of the city fades away. Place des Vosges is a suspended Paris. Place de l'Étoile. 12 avenues converge toward a single point, the Arc de Triomphe. Commissioned by Napoleon in 1806 to celebrate his victories, it wasn't completed until 1836. "50 meters high, 45 meters wide. On the pillars, monumental high reliefs. The most famous, the departure of the volunteers, known as La Marseillaise. Beneath the arch lies the tomb of the unknown soldier. The flame has been rekindled every evening at 6:30 p.m. since 1923. From here, the geometry of the city becomes legible. An axis emerges. The Champs-Élysées. 2 kilometers downhill, and certainly the most famous avenue in the world.
Je passe toutes les nuits à marcher dans les rues et je laisse mon ennui.
Originally, it was a marsh. In 1667, Le Nôtre laid out a tree-lined promenade to extend the Tuileries.
De comptoir en comptoir.
The name comes from Greek mythology, the Elysian Fields, the resting place of virtuous souls. Today, it tells a different story. Shops, cinemas, fast food, luxury brands.
La tête en l'air, j'entraperçois ruelle après ruelle.
We walk down toward the Jardin du Rond-Point to discover the Théâtre Marigny, where comedies and stage performances have been held since 1883. A little further on, the Grand Palais comes into view. It was built for the 1900 Universal Exhibition. A nave of glass and steel, 45 meters beneath the glass roof. At the time, it was a technical feat. Even today, the scale is impressive. We stay outside. The facades combine stone, mosaics, and allegorical sculptures. A concentration of the taste of the era, monumental, ornate, confident. Across the avenue, the Petit Palais. Same period, same ambition, but this one we visit. Past the gate, a surprise. An inner garden surrounded by columns. A basin, plants, soft light. Today, the courtyard is under renovation. The Petit Palais also houses the Museum of Fine Arts of the city of Paris. Admission is free. The collections range from antiquity to the early 20th century. Paintings, sculptures, decorative arts. But it's the place itself that leaves the strongest impression. Painted ceilings, mosaic floors, light falling from the glass roofs. In the nearby garden, a sculpture impossible to miss, Bouquet of Tulips by Jacques Koons. A giant hand holding 11 colored bronze tulips offered to France in 2019 in tribute to the victims of the Paris attacks. In front of us, the Alexandre III Bridge. Without doubt, the most ornate bridge in Paris, also built for the 1900 Universal Exhibition. It celebrates the Franco-Russian alliance. The first stone was laid by Tsar Nicholas II. Four gilded pylons that left such a strong impression. They later inspired the Maria Cristina Bridge in San Sebastian, Spain. Monumental lampposts. Nymphs, lions, garlands. Everything here is deliberate excess. The bridge is low, by design, so as not to obstruct the perspective between Les Invalides and the Champs-Élysées. We cross. The Golden Dome dominates the esplanade. Les Invalides. Built under Louis XIV, beginning in 1670. We approach through the gardens. Immaculate lawns. Straight, ordered paths. Originally, it was a hospice for wounded and disabled soldiers. Today, it's a complex, a church, the Army Museum, and Napoleon's tomb. The Cour d'Honneur opens before us. Arcades, aligned canons, restrained facades. The architecture speaks of order and discipline. The place commands silence. Inside the Dome Church, Napoleon's tomb. A red quartzite sarcophagus resting on a green granite base. 6 nested coffins inside. Around it, the name of the victory is engraved in marble. We exit via Place Vauban. From here, the perspective on the dome of Les Invalides is perfect. We turn onto Rue Saint Dominique, a shopping street in the 7th district. Bakeries, cheese shops, wine merchants, the Paris of the elegant districts in its everyday form. We stop for a pastry break to regain some energy. The day is far from over. At the end of the street, it appears. The Eiffel Tower, perfectly aligned on the axis. Once a military training ground, it's now a park open to the city. At the far end, the Eiffel Tower. The winning project of an 1887 competition for the 1889 Universal Exhibition. Built by Gustave Eiffel, despite fierce criticism from artists and writers such as Maupassant. Intended to be dismantled after 20 years, it's still standing. It owes its survival to an unexpected use, wireless telegraphy, then military communications. With nearly 7 million visitors a year, it has become the very image of Paris and the most visited paid monument in the world. To understand its success, you have to leave the ground. 7 million people make this journey every year. So do we. Not by climbing all those steps. We don't have the courage, so we let the elevator do the work for us. On the other side of the Seine, the Trocadéro. The Palais de Chaillot, built for the 1937 exhibition. 2 wings in a sweeping arc, an esplanade, fountains, and facing us, the tower framed like nowhere else. This is a postcard, the one everyone knows. Late afternoon, we board at Pont d'Iéna aboard the Vedette de Paris. From the Seine, the city reveals itself differently. The facades glide past, right bank, left bank. Beneath the bridge Alexandre III, the gilded details catch the light. The Musée d'Orsay, this former railway station turned museum, runs along the river. Pont des Arts, once covered with padlocks, comes into view. Then, Notre-Dame, which we saw this morning, reappears. The boat rounds the tip of Île Saint-Louis at Square Barry before beginning the return. The light fades. The Eiffel Tower remains there, a fixed point in a city in motion. Paris slows down. One final ascent awaits us. Next stop, Tour Montparnasse. Built in 1973, 210 meters, 59 floors. We go up. 38 seconds in the elevator. And Paris opens up. 30-60 degrees. The Eiffel Tower, Les Invalides, Notre-Dame. Everything we crossed today lies there beneath our eyes. It's the only skyscraper in central Paris, and undoubtedly the most criticized. The reaction was such that no other tower would be authorized within the city limits after its construction. It's often said that the best view of Paris is from here, because it's the only place from which we cannot see it. A vast renovation project is underway, aiming to transform both its appearance and its uses. An attempt, perhaps, to reconcile the city with something it never truly accepted. The sun lowers, the sky shifts toward orange. The zinc rooftops take on a golden hue. Across 4 films, we have traveled through the city. The intellectual Paris of the left bank, the bohemian Paris of Montmartre, the royal Paris of the Louvre and the Tuileries, and today, Monumental Paris. 4 faces, 4 atmospheres, one single city. From here, everything comes together. See you soon for new discoveries.